Mine's on a walk right now, so.
Yeah, mine would way rather be on a WALK. We can't say
yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Kelsey's like, should I pick up Autzen like Ben did last week? And I was like, yeah.
Autzen's much bigger than Franklin, though.
Significantly. Yeah, that's not an easy pickup.
No, definitely not.
No.
Well, welcome on, Brittany. We're excited to have you.
Thanks for having me.
For those, do you want to kind of introduce yourself for those who may not know you?
Yeah, so my husband and I have owned an insurance agency with farmers for the past 10 years. I'm a third generation insurance agent, so I like to joke that I was born into this position.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just love what we do.
That's so awesome. So yeah, I mean, we're just gonna kind of throw some questions at you for those who may be like first-time home buyers who don't know anything about the process. Or I was having a conversation with Caden today, like even myself as a homeowner and a real estate agent, like I don't delve into that kind of realm super often. So there are definitely things that I'm not very familiar with. When we bought our home, my dad needed to like walk us through it step by step because the people that we had didn't really explain it super well, you know, so.
Yeah, and how we see it is we don't expect you to know it. So a lot of people kind of are afraid to ask those questions, and we're like, please do, we're excited for you.
Yeah, and then even for me, who kind of, I deal with it more than you, Kaylee, per se, I still don't know. I bought 2 houses. I barely get it.
Okay.
I barely get it. So I'm sure that we have some questions and we can just kind of talk about it and see how everything goes. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'm sure there's going to be little nuggets that we pick up as well as everyone else. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Awesome. So I think the big question is like, what is home insurance? Why do people need it?
Yeah. So it covers the main things it covers. So that's the first thing. Always kind of look at what you're covered for and what you aren't. So the main things are fire, theft, vandalism, wind, and hail, and basically sudden internal burst of water. What it does not cover is things like earthquake, landslide, and flood. So flood is not covered. So that's, any water from the outside. It's good to know about these things. Those are the main things that you'll see, and also maintenance. Maintenance is a huge one.
Yeah.
It's very confusing too. So with the auto policy, it's easy. Your oil leaks, you go to your mechanic. You hit something, you call your insurance agent. The same kind of applies to the house. So you're getting a leaky pipe, that's gonna be under a homeowner's expense because it's maintenance of the house. Where bam, a pipe bursts and all of a sudden it's flooded everywhere. Now you're calling your insurance agent. So they are comparable, but it sometimes feels a little bit more confusing.
Yeah. Sure. Well, I think there's a lot more that can go wrong in a house. And I think people tend to not realize like what kind of maintenance is required when owning a home. You own a car, like, to do oil changes, to check the transmission, to look at the wheels. Like people don't know what to look for in their own homes, and it can get really confusing. There's a lot more variables.
Yeah, and what options you have to cover yourself, because there are different little features that you can add. For instance, service line, the utility lines, once they pass on property, they become your responsibility. Yeah. Well, that's under the maintenance bucket, but you can get that added to your homeowner's insurance to have coverage. I actually worked with a client last week. We paid out $10,000 for a claim. So it seems like the extra, why do I pay the extra $35 a year or $60 a year, whatever it is for your home for service line? And then all of a sudden we're saying, hey, we see this happens to people, it's worth it.
Yeah. My parents the other day, they live on a sewer line, and they were having someone come out because they had like leaky water and no one could do it. And then the people were like, it's probably down in that sewer line. And they're like, oh, well, that's the city. And they were like, nope, it's on your property. Yeah. Luckily it all worked out, but they were looking at like a really big expense, like upwards of like $30,000 to like uproot it and get it fixed. But it was all.
Yeah. It adds up really fast. As homeowners know that, it's like when is something less than $1,000 of a repair for myself,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Especially,
never,
yeah.
never under 1,000. I can attest to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything regarding repair. I guess, and then one thing I noticed, and I might be breaking away from, but it was just top of mind, it's something that I learned through the process of moving to where I am and working on all that, but how important it is to use a local homeowners insurance agent.
Yeah.
One little thing to Arizona is windshield coverage for cars, because rocks are constantly coming off the road, and that's something I never would have thought about. But I mean, I'm sure you could attest to that. Just like when we push always work with a local lender or work with someone who knows the area, right? I'm sure that's huge in your world as well.
Yeah, you want an advisor, somebody that can help walk you through the process, that's seen claims, they know what is happening frequently. We use like a reconstruction estimator, but on top of that, we're using our expertise. Where we know the averages for the different cities. So we know Bellevue's about $300 a square foot versus, North Bend is $250. So we know those things. So we double check all the work. We make sure everything's like airtight, like really done on a high level. And then we also can give advice, say, hey, we've been seeing a lot of service line coverage, needed, or like you said, the windshield, things like that. Really makes a huge difference. Plus, we're just advocates for our clients during the claims process. If we feel like, something needs to get done, we'll really take care of them and make sure it happens.
Yeah. And I think that's something we see as like maybe something that is negative with the insurance world. People always think that the insurance companies are against them, and they want to make sure that, they don't have to pay out the claim if they really don't need to. And we've met, and like, that's not the vibe that I get. Luckily, we haven't had to work together in like a situation yet, but like, you give off the vibe where you're like, I care deeply about my clients, and I want to make sure that they're taken care of in any situation. So
100%.
And then another one, you kind of talked on trying to elaborate more on just like what what people are looking for with homeowners insurance. But usually how it goes is, a buyer will work with us. We'll get under contract on a house. We get through the initial disclosures on my end. And one of the first things I tell people, actually, sometimes when they get under contract, start looking for a homeowner's insurance quote. Because if you're going to look at multiple, it could take some time. What should they be looking out for in a company, an agent? Is there, whether it's numbers or just like listening to, like, what are they looking for in an agent, or just the numbers? What should they be looking for once I start to send them out to go, hey, you should talk to them, you should do this, or they just kind of go rogue and want to talk to anyone they want to?
Yeah, so some red flags that we always look at, the number one thing is when you go to the liability section, if you're getting a quote that's at the bare, minimum, if you're getting like a 300,000 liability quote, they don't even give you the option for 500,000 or show you an umbrella. That's a really good first red flag, I would say, because they're just trying to give you something super cheap, and they don't really care enough to go over coverages with you. You as a client can choose not to have that coverage, but if they're taking the time to be advising you and going through the process and saying, hey, your home is worth 800,000, your liability should be above 800,000. If they're having discussions like that, there's a good chance they're a good agent that really does care, and they'll go over, and explain and walk through and advise and that sort of thing. So that's the first thing I would look at.
And it seems very similar to our line of work where, I try to do it. I know Kaylee does too. Options. Like, all we can do is just give you the info. It's your decision to make. But if we're telling you what to do, that's a different scenario. And it seems it's very the same way in your line of work.
Yeah, and if they're just giving you the bare minimum, then they're not really okay. They may save you a little bit here at the beginning, but then when the claim comes through, you're paying the big number. So if they don't care enough about you, I would say, that's my personal opinion. They don't care enough about you if they don't want to show you, hey, we can have protection in this way if you'd like it.
Yeah, and I've learned peace of mind has a dollar value. Like, there's a value to peace of mind. So understanding that, and 300,000 versus 500,000, I'm someone who worries way too much about everything. So I think, I can't remember, I should have looked at my policy, but I'm almost positive I did 500,000 just for like, okay, I can sleep at night.
Yeah. Yeah, and it helps qualify for that umbrella, and that's something that I always advise, successful homeowners to have is an umbrella policy.
Mm-hmm.
It extends on top of the house and the car and protects you from really major incidences. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
something it's great to have.
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask. Is it less expensive for, those people to bundle like car and home? I hear that a lot. So is that something that's beneficial?
Oh yeah, that's the biggest discount. At least our company and most companies give is the bundle discount. And honestly, it helps protect you in the right way when you're looking at things like the umbrella, because when they're all together, you're getting coverage together. So yeah, a big benefit from that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And then I guess this is just kind of a fact to put out there. I was writing notes earlier, and homeowners insurance actually plays a factor in your payment for a loan for a house. So
Yeah.
Understanding the situation you're in, if you want to be a little bit more protected, understanding kind of where your ratios are at and everything like that, and making sure you're still qualifying for the house, but you're still protected. So for the most part, that's not an issue. For the most part, like, I put in an estimation of homeowners insurance that's a little bit more than I think it'll be, just to be conservative. But yeah, I mean, we work hand in hand in just like getting people qualified and then understanding the price that comes with that peace of mind, or just whatever insurance coverage they want to have.
Yeah, and you want an agent that will respect your budget. If you can't get there right away,
Mm-hmm.
what we do in our agency is we do annual reviews. And so we look at our client, and maybe they can't, it's just not in their budget, even though it's not that much more for the service line coverage, for instance. But in a year, they're in a better position. They're like, okay, I'm ready for that protection. We can add that later. So if it is an issue, but like you said, it doesn't happen that often, because usually these features are really not that much more. But in case that it is, that's fine. I understand when you're buying a house, your budget's really tight. We can always work with adding features later on.
Yeah. And then to talk on what you just said, I remember going through the process, and it was like, yeah, you can be protected for a few $100,000 more for like $2 more a month. And it's like, what are we even talking about? I was like, sign me up for that.
So true.
Yeah. That kind of covers just homeowners and understanding, like, because you'll chat with your lender, realtor, you'll get sent to Brittany here, and then but at that point you'll take over, be a great educator and educate them on everything, and then they get a quote. If they like it, they send it to us. And I guess the big thing would be that then that's when, not so much me, but the lending team starts communicating with you and takes everything from there. And it's not even like it's a hassle on people.
No. So a lot of times people pay through the escrow with the insurance. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times with the home, they don't even chat with us much more than signing their e-documents on the day of closing. But yeah, we're flexible. We work with the lenders. If the closing date shifts earlier, later, doesn't matter. We are on top of it and make sure that it goes smooth.
Yes, absolutely. I think that kind of covers everything on how I mean, yeah, I've been around it a little bit more and I understand it more, but I feel like that covered a lot, and without actually getting into the details of like, oh, here's what a quote will look like and stuff like that. But I don't think anyone wants to go through the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, each property is so unique, right? Yep. So you can have, flip house, a high value home, like there's all different types of houses. So the coverages look differently for each thing. So a lot of times people want me to go over quotes, and I'm happy to answer basic questions, but until you have your home, it's really hard for us to have a true dialogue about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was a question that came through. It says, do umbrella policies cover lawsuits? I hear that's one way to protect your business if you get sued.
Yeah. So somebody, you're walking your dog bites somebody unexpectedly and they sue you for that due to loss of income from their job or, whatever it is, it protects you the way our company works is they go to court for you and with you. So they provide a lawyer if you have an umbrella, and really try to protect you. So yeah, if you're having a kid's birthday party at your house and one of the kids get injured, your friend falls, maybe has too many drinks or no drinks at all and falls down your stairs, or you're in a major incident, it ends up being your fault in the car and you injure somebody significantly, or worst case scenario, they pass away and you're sued for that. Your umbrella coverage, that's where it's really going to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you want it over your assets. So you want your liability limits to be over your assets. So if we always look at the house first, because typically it's your largest.
Mm-hmm.
And then we say, okay, if your house is $800,000, you need your liability to be above $800,000.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know kind of over the last couple of years, a lot of people have been reaching out to past clients and saying like, look, have you checked in with your insurance company recently? Because if you bought the home and you had like a $300,000 insurance, and then now all of a sudden your home is worth $500,000 or $600,000, like you want to make sure that you're covered for that, because that asset increased drastically over the last couple of years. So if you're on here and you haven't talked to an insurance agent, like you might want to, just to be safe.
Yeah, they'll see, ooh, you're a homeowner, you're successful for sure. Because what are the odds? Most houses are above that 500,000 mark in this area.
Yeah,
definitely. So, yeah.
Is there anything else?
So what are some? Oh, I was just going to ask, like, what are some of the most commonly asked questions that you get on your end when people are coming to you?
They mostly just walk through different scenarios. And again, we just kind of go over, what is covered, what isn't. I think that's probably the biggest thing that we get asked. Also, what do I need as a homeowner? So for me, I always, advise, look at the umbrella, like I mentioned, look at the different coverages. Also look at a term life insurance policy, so that coverages your mortgage. So if you have a 30-year mortgage, that for $500,000, get a $500,000 30-year term. So to really protect you work so hard to get that home. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to have it protected. It's your dream. And it's usually less than, if you go out and get a Starbucks, on a regular basis, it's usually less than that. It's pretty inexpensive sometimes. Mm-hmm. So that would be my other little thing that I like to recommend.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's so funny how often we use it's cheaper than a cup of coffee every day. That's like
right.
That's like the real estate go-to.
It is. Totally.
It's
but
true.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It adds up. It's those little daily habits you don't even notice. And if I had to choose, okay, I get to keep my home if something happened to, the partner that I'm, paying the mortgage with, or, splurge on my coffee, I would definitely want the alternative, the first one.
Yeah. Espresso machines are actually pretty inexpensive also.
Yeah.
So definitely we got a investment.
Yeah. We got one for the office for Prime Day. So.
Yeah.
There was another question. It says, does the insurance policy differ depending on your mortgage balance?
No. So we don't look at the value of the home at all. So that gets super confusing because some people will be like, my house is worth $500,000. Why are you protecting it for $300 or $250? What we look at is what it costs to rebuild. If you had a total loss, fire, what will it cost for us to go in and rebuild the structure? So we do the two things, like I said. We have an estimator, and then we know the averages of the area as well. So we double check and make sure they line up.
That's awesome.
That's what I've learned. That was kind of the big one that I learned when it came to homeowners insurance. It's the cost to rebuild. It's not the cost of the home, because that's a dollar value that someone's willing to pay for the home, but you just want to ensure what's the cost to rebuild it. Yeah. Obviously, if you insure it a little bit more, the better, but yeah.
There's a lot of protections too within the policies. You can get extensions, so buffers, just in case reconstruction goes up. There's also, you can add a guarantee. There's a guaranteed replacement cost. feature on some homeowners insurance. So if you're really nervous about it, you can opt for that guarantee, and then you never have to worry.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
And it disappeared. So,
What'd you say? Oh.
okay, so without giving away like too much information, privacy, whatever, what's one of the craziest things that you've seen like in your world of insurance?
I don't know. We see a lot of things, but I think one of the funniest ones was family of beavers took over somebody's like, it was kind of like basement area.
Oh my
There's
God.
even a commercial that's similar for farmers about a bear like attacking you in the garage. It happened to one of our clients, but with beavers. They like took over the house and like caused so much damage. And
Oh my gosh.
Damn.
They damned the house.
Oh
I
my
had.
God.
I know.
I've got to add that to the story. Oh my God, that's great.
The attack of the beavers. That's insane. Taking over a house.
That is wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, because that's the commercial with that one actor, right, where they always have the like crazy stories.
Professor Burke, yes.
Yeah.
Those are all real claims, by the way. They came to us and were like, hey, everybody give us your stories. And all the agents gave stories, and the marketing team then created commercials out of them. So
Which
they've
is
all
genius.
So what's one thing, like if people are looking at multiple different companies, what's one thing that makes you and farmers stand out above the rest?
Yeah. Number one thing is just having an advisor. They're not only like give you advice and go through like personalized like what coverage is good for you, but they're, like I said earlier, they're advocate. So they really, care and fight for their clients. And I think that's like the big thing. And then just also somebody that gives you options, somebody that shows you what is covered, what isn't, is able to, we're not a 1-800 number. You call our line, we pick up. So we're here to give you like personal touch, personal experience. I think that really makes a difference. And I think it a lot of times you don't realize it until the claim comes in, which is not when you want to learn that.
Yeah, absolutely not. No, that's a good point. And we preach that with like choosing the right agent and choosing the right lender as well. Like you want to be able to call that number and get through to somebody and not having to wait or like all those things. Like being able to have a direct point of contact is really important and valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you may not notice it on that front end, like you're saying, just for a quote. You could just get some random agent at a bigger company that's just that 1-800 number.
Yeah.
But when you need it most, understanding that ahead of time and not going, like I don't have a go-to that could just answer the questions for me. I'm at the mercy of, I hope this works out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
When you're dealing with the stress of having to file a claim, like you don't want to deal with the stress. Who the heck am I going to talk to?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I think, I don't have any other questions. I think we touched on a lot. We heard a beaver story I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most of my questions, and usually here at the end, we kind of give like 30 seconds to a minute to kind of let anybody else ask additional questions that they might have. If you have anything else that you want to add that maybe we didn't ask or that you think is important for our listeners to know, like feel free to add it on. And
yeah, I think we covered most of the like main things, but yeah, if anybody ever has like further questions or they want to go through a proposal, like happy to look at it.
Yeah. And you can follow Brittany. Her handle is @Kimball Agency. And so she's a really great resource on Instagram as well. And I enjoy following her, giving out all the great tips and homeowners insurance and everything.
And then you're out of Mercer Island, right?
Yes, but we help all of Washington, California, Oregon, and California. Did I say Arizona? Did I say Arizona?
I think you said California twice.
I did say it twice. I'm like, wait a second. I'm going in a circle here. Thank you. Yeah, Arizona.
That's funny. How often do people add hail insurance in this region?
Pretty much
Never.
Yeah.
We had a family member that lived in California and moved to Kentucky. And then after she moved there, she was telling us that she went to like a hail sale for car, and we were like,
Yeah.
what's a hail sale? And she's like, it's where cars get hail damage and you get a discount. And we're like, what?
Yeah.
That's a thing?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, we're a Washington's lower premium state because we don't deal with things like that or hurricanes and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I can think of that is a major issue is, especially in the South Sound, is flooding. I guess anywhere around the Sound, that would be the biggest one, I'd assume.
Yeah, and then, yes, so have a flood policy. The other thing that you just reminded me is if you are on like a cliff or a steep hill, you want a difference in conditions policy. So it does landslide and land movement. That would cover land movement, earthquake, and flood, all three for you. So looking at things like that. So when you have a unique property, it's super important.
Definitely. Not what I would think about. And a lot of things, there's a town near me called Ording, and it's in like a flood zone. And a lot of people choose not to live there because of that. But a lot of people don't know that when you live there, you have to pay flood insurance. It's required. And it can tack on up to like $700 to your monthly payment. From what I've heard, it's pretty crazy. But
wow,
that's
outside of the additional your like premium and everything.
Yes. So you'll have your standard home, and flood, just the premium for flood really depends. A lot of times it kind of is close to the home insurance premium amount, but I've seen significantly higher if you're right there next to a river, whatever it is that has a high chance. And a lot of times you'll look at some of the premiums that are a little bit higher, but if you look at the total loss amount, and let's say you look at the like 30 and you times your premium by like 30 years, a lot of times you're still significantly under what, could potentially be paid out with your insurance.
Yeah.
But yes, those floods can get expensive.
Yeah. That's why it's important to kind of know everything about the different areas that you're looking. Because I've talked to so many clients that are like, we want to live here. And it's like they had no idea that it would be a pretty penny more to live in areas because of insurance. So
or fire risk too, not just flood, but fire risk. Like how far are you from a fire hydrant or a fire station, things like that. It can get really pricey if you're in a high risk area.
Awesome.
It makes sense, but just being on the lookout for that. But a good advisor would tell you, would warn you, and that's where working with someone who understands the area will tell you that.
Definitely.
It all comes back together there. You see that?
Yep. Awesome. Well, no one else has sent in any other questions, so I think we're good on that. But if you have anything else that you want to add, then feel free. Otherwise, I think that we're good, and we appreciate you being on. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great.
Of course, anytime. And thank you for all the great information. And otherwise, have a really great rest of your week. Everyone else, as always, if you have any topics that you want to learn about, send it over to us, and we're happy to address those for you. So,
Well, take care, everyone. Have a great day.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Mine's on a lock right now, so.
Yeah, mine would way rather be on a WALK. We can't say
sorry.
Okay.
Kelsey's like, should I pick up Autzen like Ben?